Surplus food management and food waste reduction demand significant strategic and operational efforts. In order to decide how to maximize the impact, we need to tackle three different features of surplus food: its quantity, its recoverability, the cost for managing it. First, the quantity and type of surplus food and food waste vary greatly across countries. If we look at the developing economies, most food losses and waste arise in farming and distribution logistics. However, things change in high-income countries. For example, estimates of surplus food for Italy accounts for something less than 95 kilograms per capita per year, with different roles for the different actors. Final consumers and their habits are an important cause of surplus food, 43% of the total. However, most of surplus food is generated along the supply chain, 57%. Now, let's consider only the surplus food that is generated by the Italian agri-food enterprises. 64% of this slice comes from the primary sector, that is, from food production. The remaining part is generated in distribution, 24%, food service, 7%, and the manufacturing stage, 5%. However, not all surplus food is the same when it comes to management for human consumption. How feasible is redistribution, particularly to people in need? Let's name recoverability the potential of surplus food in terms of recovery for consumption. Recoverability changes greatly across different supply chain stages and different products. For example, think of fruit. It can be promptly used for human nutrition. By contrast, consider rice grains just harvested. They are still to be treated and transformed before consumption. Another good example are the significant operational efforts to maintain and deliver a chilled product. You need to store it in cold warehouses, transport it in refrigerated trucks, and carry out a complex hygienic certification. By contrast, the intensity of management that is required by a packaged staple at ambient temperature is smaller. The good news is that above 90% of surplus food from the supply chain has a medium or high degree of recoverability. By contrast, surplus food recoverability is lower for households. Today in Italy, about 9% of surplus food, around 500,000 tons per year, is redistributed. The remaining part becomes food waste to recycle, recover or dispose of. However, business, non-profit organizations and public administration are increasingly engaged with food redistribution. A realistic target is doubling the quantity of surplus food recovered for consumption in few years. Finally, what are the costs of surplus food management? They are quite high because they range from 0.2 to 2 euros per kilogram, depending on the supply chain stage and product type. This estimate covers the operations of business donors, food banks and other non-profit organizations, net of volunteers' work. However, let's now conclude on a more positive note. Despite its cost, redistribution generates a net benefit for the society. Indeed, the value of each kilogram of recovered food for recipients is greater than its cost. €1 put in surplus food management creates a value for society that is equal to €3 in the most difficult case, which is food service. In other stages of the supply chain, the final value of redistributed food can even be equal to 10 times the cost.